Yeah, I guess the most memorable would be about 3 years ago when we went to Israel, and we were at the Western Wall at first, and we saw these what looked to be new recruits into the Israeli army, and they were about the same age as some of the students that we had over there. And it seemed like we kept encountering these soldiers several times throughout the day. And then later that day we went to the Holocaust Museum, which was probably one of the most impactful places that I've been. And as we were touring through this, it was just packed with people. And to experience that museum, you know, in Israel with all of these Israelis going through at the same time, and then the soldiers showed up, and I reflected as I was thinking about that here these are what seemed to be new recruits, and that probably what they had been doing was visiting the various sites, the same sites that we were looking at to kind of show them, okay, here's what you're fighting for. And that just really struck me to think of all of those sites from their perspective and looking through their eyes, and especially going through the Holocaust Museum and trying to imagine what they must think about as they experience that particular site. It was a very profound kind of experience, I think, for me. And so that was probably the most memorable, just experiencing that day and that particular event going through the museum. Especially from Bible courses, when we go abroad, we're taking the text and we're putting it in context. It's things that they've studied about, heard about, learned about all their lives, but now it becomes real. Now it becomes enfleshed. And on this last trip, when we went to Greece, and I had several students that commented to me at Corinth, you know, here's a place that they've read about Paul, and they've read about events that happened in Corinth. They've read the letter to Corinthians, but now here they are on site, and we visit the place where Paul was brought to trial before, and it just becomes real to them. The other thing that I think is, you know, it really came home to me the last trip was the relationships that they build in an experience like this with each other, the camaraderie that is experienced through going on a trip like this. They make friends that they're going to have for you know, years to come. And so there's a number of different reasons. It's experiencing things that they haven't ever seen before, that they haven't encountered before, in terms of another culture, in terms of sights and smells and sounds and language and food. It's always interesting to watch students eat new foods, but I think it's an experience you just can't put a price tag on, and that they will cherish for the rest of their lives. Here you have Christians that you're meeting in all these various locations, people that you share the same faith with, but they're doing things in such a significantly different way. They're experiencing life and culture in a very different way than your own, but you're connected because of that faith, and so it helps you recognize that there is a broader world out there than just your little world, especially here in you know, the Bible Belt, where we kind of get a sense that we're the chief Christians among all Christians because of where we live. So I think it expands that vision. It gives you a sense of connectedness. It gives you a greater sense of compassion, and you don't get caught up in your own troubles and problems as much anymore, but you recognize, okay, there's people over in, for example, in South Africa that had struggles that we can't even imagine, in trying to recognize how can we, with our prosperity, perhaps help them. And so it gives that broader global vision and a desire to do something about it.